Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. First, shouts out to Global Free Agent and D. Ducree, to Armando and to S. Jock. And you all know why. I'll get right into this. In order to explain to you what SI is, I'll give you a hint. My childhood enemy is DJ, Daryl Jr. He always was a jerk the whole time I knew him. First time I met him, I was probably 5 or 6. He was about the same age. He walked up, "You think you bad?" Hit me in my chest and I hit him in his. But for whatever reason, he was never as afraid of me as he would have been of just about any other black male growing up. Now, this happened probably about kindergarten. I mean, I wasn't even in first grade yet. I never forgot him, but I just didn't hear about him for years and years on end after that. Just never heard about him. Then comes middle school, and I began to hear about him. And I wondered, why is it that I remember the name? And I had a crush on his girlfriend before I knew that she was his girlfriend. As soon as I heard she liked anybody else, I was done because, man, I didn't hate her. I was just like, man, it's kind of disgusting. How's that going to work? You know, he kisses her right cheek, I kiss her left cheek. Ugh. So I wasn't interested no more. I didn't think she was ugly, nothing like that. I was just like, she likes somebody else. Never mind. Unfortunately, it wasn't really, it wasn't to his advantage or to his wish to just accept that I forgot about his girlfriend. He was looking for a reason to fight, and he wanted to fight someone he thought he could beat, and that was me. And they may have really thought that I was into her despite her being into him. But the truth is that no, the truth is that I don't want someone that wants somebody else. So since we had friends in common, I didn't seek to fight him like he wanted to fight. And eventually we reached an uneasy friendship, you could call it. I didn't realize how uneasy it was. I was just willing to be at peace with him because we had friends in common. But I realized now, I realized shortly after that that sent him the wrong message, that I was afraid and I'd let him walk over me, and I wouldn't. He took something too far one day, 2 years later, when he decided to chase after my brother. My brother's younger than us. And as you know, there's a big difference in size with the 3-year age difference. The size difference is major. We have a 5-year age difference. I wasn't willing to tolerate this. I wasn't willing to consider any of this. He ran after my brother. We scrapped. He won that fight by one lick, but my brother was safe. I was never going to trust him again, and I really was never going to respect him again because I knew at that point he was a coward. You see, by the time he and I had that fight, he had run away from Glocktavius. I remember that. Glocktavius wanted to fight him, and he ran from his classroom to the bus to get away from Glocktavius. I remember that Chris wanted to fight him. He ran, but he let Chris punk him. I remember that Garfield hit him in a basketball game. He didn't retaliate. So I pretty much decided that the very next time he backed down to someone else and stood up to me, we were going to have it out. And I was going to be armed because he was bigger than me by that point. I figured he doesn't deserve a fair fight is when I win. If I stab him, that's a fair fight because you don't pick fights with people smaller than you talking about a fair fight. And that's exactly how he was. I baited him into fighting me in his own driveway 3 years after that. He gave up that fight before I could even overpower him because he realized this was going to be a fight and he chickened out. But he never really learned to be afraid of me. And so he and I are never going to be even friends. We're not even going to be fake friends, acquaintances, really. He's a former childhood enemy that I know. At this point, he's going to always either be a coward or he's going to be immature because for him to prove that he's brave, he has to get up in the face of someone bigger than him and pick a fight. But then that makes him too immature to be a man, so he'll never be a man. He's either too afraid or he's too immature, but he'll never have his courage and his maturity. Not in my eyes. I do not ask questions as to why someone treats me unequally, as an inferior to others. I go straight to punishing them when I catch it. I did this actually a little under a year after I had that fight with him to somebody else that he punked at a dance. They didn't know each other. I knew both of them. I saw it from the stage. Some of you have heard the story before. I'm telling you this because this is selective courage, which is not courage. And I don't forgive this. And I'm going to tell you that what you are facing, gentlemen, is selective intelligence from these women. And you should not forgive that. Women are capable of thinking with logic and intellect and deductive reasoning. They do it at their jobs every day. They have gardens. They have to use deductive reasoning and logic. They can't do this emotionally. They become dingbats about a lot of things in life because you're around as a man. And even many women that are otherwise good women stop thinking when a man is around because they figure, I don't really need to think, he'll figure it out. And so they become dingbats. Now you've had this mental burden. So when they want to talk about emotional labor, how about intellectual labor and emotional labor? You take on a lot of that because while they're sitting up and saying you don't take on much emotional labor, the fact is not only do they make sure that you do, but they also throw on intellectual labor. And this is a phenomenon untalked about. When smart women become stupid because they're around their man. Women that are wise when they're single, picking their battles, choosing their battles wisely, turn around and now they got a man around and they just all up in everybody's face every time they disagree. No, see, what you gonna do is, oh God, somebody gonna turn to you one day and say, man, come get your, man, check your, what you call me? And you see, it'll be something she started. But then you got to explain to him, bro, she and I are going to have a conversation. Then I got to have one with you about not disagreeing with her, but about the B word. But see, for you to even say something that nuanced, now all that does is get both of them cutting you off and interrupting you to get up in each other's face. And then she's calling you a coward. And he's calling you a coward because you ain't checked her. And she's calling you a coward because you didn't shoot and stab him. You can't win dealing with them. And that's intellectual labor. Even, to be honest with you, even when they do dumb things like ask you things they already know just because you're there, is this the street that I need to turn on? Even that. Going somewhere that they have driven multiple times already, going somewhere they know and you don't. Like let her say, you know what, I'm gonna take you here to try this new place to eat. You still the one supposed to pay. And then she knows where it is, you don't. And so you say, well, okay, now which one of these streets do I turn on? Which one? Dummy, I just asked you. I don't know. Okay, see, that's a dingbat. And smart women will become that just because a man is there, a man they're sleeping with or are supposed to sleep with after they get married. You'd be shocked. It is Westernicians that don't think twice about doing this. They are smart as long as it is to your disadvantage. When their intelligence could help you, they turn it off. Why would they do that? And they may not realize they're doing that. So what? They're doing it anyway. I'm not only recording this to tell you that SI is a means by which you can tell that they are against you. The way I could tell that DJ was against me, it didn't matter if he felt contempt or full-blown hatred. I don't figure out which one it is. It doesn't make a difference. DJ was going to harm me unless I harm him, until I harmed him. Or my brother. And that's not acceptable. Even now, we are adults. I'm taller than my brother. He's bigger and taller than both of us. So if he went and moved on my brother now as an adult, he has to die for that. And truth be told, the nigga still deserves to die. It's just illegal. Don't tell me about how many years done passed. I mean, to be honest with you, it's been 30 years. Since the fight we had, it's been 30 years. But I know he ain't learned his lesson. He gonna always be that same jerk. And if he figures that he can beat you, he'll just mess with you just because. Maybe he outgrew that, but he outgrew it too late. Our mutual friends cannot reconcile us. They can't get me to sit down and have a drink with this dude. We're not going to. My mother's even said, well, I bumped into him and he asked how you were doing. Okay, well, great. Either you answered or you didn't. Was he okay and respectful to you? Yes, of course, son. He's grown now. Times have changed. Yeah, you know, Mom, they might have, but they changed too late. I'm not gunning for him. I'm not going after him. Yeah, we're adults, so I'm too old for that. But we're not going to normalize how we get along. That's too late. The time for him to grow up was before he went and ran after my brother. That's the time to grow up. We might have been able to have normal conversations if he had simply shown the same fear of me in his driveway that he showed of my two friends that actually had arguments with him. He couldn't even fake consistency, and there's no reason to forgive that. Everyone has their limits. God does not forgive those who die having another God aside from him. He does not forgive. He promised us. I mean, even in Christianity, they say that that's how you know someone's going to hell. He died with another God aside from God. And the Quran is like that. He said, I might forgive anything else, but I'm not forgiving if you die with another God. You died, you did not submit to God alone as God by himself. And he said, you're going to burn and you're going to burn and you're going to burn and it ain't going to stop. And it's going to get a little bit worse over time to make sure you never adjust and catch up. Everyone has their limits. That's mine. And you black men, you got to have that limit too. You got to have that limit to where once a chick treats you differently than, meaning worse than how she treats other men, that means, I'm not saying you walk around with a grudge the rest of your life, but that means they can't come back. There ain't no reconciliation. You ain't talking no more. She can never come to you for help of any kind. And she can't bring her kids to you for help of any kind. That's what that has to mean. Even if she were to say later on, listen, I just need a place for my kids to stay. You ain't got to do nothing for me. Just please help my kids. Please help my kids. You got to say to her, listen, I ain't got nothing against them kids, but understand this. If I give them a place to stay, if they come and they stay under my roof, how do I know you're not going to blame me for something I didn't do later? Huh? No, you on your own. You got this. And don't speak to me again. That's what you got to say. Because that selective intelligence is an insult. And they're doing it across the board with many guys nowadays. But I'm telling you, 30 years ago, they were doing that to a few dudes. And they've graduated into doing this across the board to most men. They're willing to bring their intellect and use that for the benefit of the men they want to smash. The ones that don't have to pass any test either. You know, there are guys that they might want to, but they still want to test them. I'm talking about them. You can't pass those tests anyway. But the ones that are pre-qualified, they want to go ahead and use their intellect to these men's advantage. But when you are not one of the lottery-winning pre-qualified men, they would go to work and use their intellect. And then they will get up in your face and start thinking with emotion just to put a burden on you. Now, does that help them in any way? No, but it hurts and harms you, and they're willing to do it. And that's how you know that this is about being against you more than it is about being for themselves. That's one of the ways you can tell. That's one of the signs. If you've been with someone, even if y'all been married, and she's capable of logic and all that, but she turns that off and brings to you nothing but emotion, and she's trying to think with it and make decisions with it, drop her and let her know, you know what? There are women in other places, traditional women, that will not turn their logic off just because I walk in a room and all of a sudden they become emotional and stupid and ditzy. Don't ever let a smart woman become a dumb blonde around you. Never. It's just like letting her tell other men yes and tell you no, but then bringing you the bills to pay. It's just about the same thing. I hope that helps. Now, for those who are wondering, on Buy Me a Coffee, I plan on uploading something about teaching here to give you all professional insight. I'd like to talk about how not to teach, what you should not do if you come to this part of the world to teach. I want to thank y'all for your help and for listening to this. As always, Black Heart, Black Mind, Blackout. Assalamu alaikum, Black heterosexual, non-select male power because they don't like it. Black patriarch until extinction of Judgment Day. Thank you for flying again with us here on Jet Black Airways, with Jet Black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender, justice, forever.